When I think back to how it all began, I still see the alley lights of Eastbridge shining like broken stars. The city was always gray, even in summer. That's where me and my brother Darius grew up. Mama worked 2 jobs and Dad was long gone. We learned early that the world didn't hand you anything, you had to take it. We were 12 and 14 when we met Leon and Trey. They lived 3 blocks over, both older than us, both street smart. We called each other brothers even before we bled together. We played ball by the train yard, hustled little things, fake sneakers, stolen phones, whatever kept food on the table. We thought we were kings already, but we didn't know how far down kings could fall. It was Leon who brought the first real money. His cousin ran with a small-time dealer named Rico. Rico had connections. He said there was a shipment of pills coming through the docks, easy pickup, easy sale. Darius's eyes lit up like it was Christmas. I told him no at first, but then Mama got sick. Hospital bills piled up and her breathing got worse every night. I still remember her cough, thin and dry like paper tearing. That's when I said yes. We started small. We took boxes from Rico, sold them at the club district, handed him his cut. Within weeks, we were making more than Mama ever had. I could buy her medicine, food, new clothes. She thought I got a real job at a mechanic shop. I let her believe that. I even started to believe it myself, that I was helping the family. Darius changed faster than the rest of us. He liked the feeling of power, the way people looked at him when he walked in with gold chains and a thick roll of bills. He said, "We can go bigger, Marcus, no more middlemen." I told him we needed to be smart, but he only smiled. "Smart men die broke," he said. That was the first sign of the crack between us. By the time we turned 20, we ran our own little network. Me, Darius, Leon, and Trey, we moved everything from pills to powder. We were careful, never used our own product, never crossed other crews. I handled the numbers and deals. Darius handled the streets. Leon and Trey handled protection. For a while it worked. We were family. We had cars, women, respect. But deep down, I knew things that grow too fast don't last. The trouble started with Rico again. He came back, said we owed him for learning the trade. Darius laughed in his face. "We don't owe you nothing," he said. Rico didn't like that. 2 days later, someone shot up our stash house. Leon barely made it out. I found him bleeding by the door, swearing he saw Rico's men. We hit back. It was messy. Trey went after them with Darius. They burned Rico's car, scared his people off. For a few weeks it felt like we won, but the war changed us. Darius became colder. He started keeping secrets, side deals, hidden cash, things I wasn't supposed to see. I trusted him anyway. He was my brother, my blood. Then came the betrayal. I didn't see it coming. It was a rainy night. The streets were slick, the kind that reflected red and blue lights. We had a big shipment coming in worth more than anything we'd moved before. I stayed in the warehouse, checking boxes, counting bills. Darius said he'd meet the buyers. Hours passed, he didn't come back. Then I heard sirens. I ran. By the time I reached the docks, everything was chaos, cops everywhere, flashing lights, shouting. Our shipment was gone. Rico's men were gone, and Darius, my brother, was standing with the police, hands behind his back but eyes calm like he planned it all. When our eyes met, I saw it, the truth. He set me up. They grabbed me next. The cops said someone tipped them off, gave them everything, names, places, accounts. I knew it was him, my brother. I spent 2 years locked up while Darius walked free. Leon and Trey kept the business running, but things fell apart without me. When I got out, I found out Leon was dead, shot in the back outside a club. Trey swore it was Darius's doing. Said he'd gone too deep with a rival crew and sold Leon out. I didn't want to believe it, but the streets don't lie. Trey was all I had left. We swore to make things right, but Darius was bigger now. He had men, money, power. Getting close to him was like walking into a storm. Still, revenge was all I thought about. Every night I saw Mama's face, Leon's blood, and Darius's calm eyes as the cops dragged me away. I stopped being the man who wanted to help his family. I became something else, something colder. That's when I planned what had to come next. When I got out of prison, the city felt smaller but meaner. Eastbridge had new faces, new bosses, but the same dirt under every streetlight. I walked through it like a ghost, looking for what was left of my old life. Trey met me behind a rundown bar we used to hang around. He looked older, thinner, eyes always scanning the dark. When he saw me, he hugged me hard. "You shouldn't have come back," he said. "I couldn't stay away," I told him. "I want my brother." He shook his head. "Darius ain't the same, Marcus. He's got his own empire now. You go after him, you die." I smiled, but there was no joy in it. "Then I die trying." Trey sighed, then lit a cigarette. The glow lit up the scars on his hands. "Leon gone because of him," he said, "and I'm next if I don't keep moving." We sat there in silence for a while, the sound of cars and sirens mixed in the air. I thought about Mama's grave, about the promises we'd all made when we were kids to watch each other's backs, to stay brothers forever. Funny how forever can end so fast. Trey said he knew where Darius stayed now, some high-rise apartment near the river, guarded like a fortress. He said he'd help me get close if I promised not to do anything stupid. I lied and said I'd just talk. We started watching Darius from a distance. He drove black cars, wore gold watches, smiled like he owned the whole world. He had men following him everywhere, big guys with guns under their coats. I wondered if he ever thought about me, about what he did. A week later, Trey came running to my motel room in the middle of the night. "You won't believe this," he said, breath shaking. "Your brother's got a new deal going, huge shipment, just like the old days. He's cutting out his partners. We could take it before he does." It sounded like madness, but I saw the same fire in Trey's eyes that used to be in mine. Revenge makes people brave or stupid, maybe both. We planned it out: catch the trucks at the warehouse before Darius showed up, grab the goods, then disappear. I told Trey no killing unless we had to. He nodded, but I saw his hand resting on the gun at his waist. The night of the hit, the air was thick with rain again. Eastbridge always cried when something bad was coming. We parked behind the warehouse and waited. The sound of diesel engines echoed down the street. Trey grinned. Showtime. We moved fast, two shadows slipping between crates and steel beams. Everything went smooth until the lights snapped on and voices shouted, "Drop it." It was a trap. He knew. Gunfire exploded all around. I dove behind a crate, bullets splintering the wood. Trey fired back, yelling my name. I tried to reach him, but then I heard a sound I'll never forget, a sharp cry cut short. When the shooting stopped, I crawled out and found him on the ground. Trey was bleeding bad, clutching his chest. He looked up at me, eyes already fatting. He knew, Marcus," he whispered. "Your brother, he set us up again." I pressed my hands on his wound, but it was no use. His blood ran through my fingers, warm and thick. "Stay with me, Trey, please." He tried to smile. "Finish it," he said, "make him pay." Then he was gone. Something inside me broke right then. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just stood up and stared at the warehouse, at the men loading the drugs into Darius's trucks. He'd killed both of my brothers now, one by blood, one by choice. That night I buried Trey myself in the old field behind the train yard. No coffin, no prayers, just dirt and silence. I swore on that grave that I would end Darius with my own hands. After that I disappeared, changed my name, took small jobs, kept quiet. I needed time to plan, to learn his world. I found out he wasn't just a dealer anymore. He was a supplier, moving product across state lines, working with people I'd only heard about in whispers. He had everyone paid off: the cops, the gangs, even some city officials. If I went at him head-on, I'd die like Trey did. So I waited, I studied. I built a new network, quiet and careful, the way we used to before greed poisoned us. I made deals with people who hated Darius as much as I did. Every dollar I earned went into my revenge. Every night I dreamed of his face. Months turned into a year. The more I watched him, the more I saw how far he'd fallen. Darius laughed in nightclubs, toasted with killers, spent money like it would never run out. But under all that shine, he was scared. I saw it in his eyes when he thought no one was watching. He knew I was still out there. One night I got my chance. His right-hand man, a guy named Felix, got sloppy. I cornered him in a parking lot, gun to his head. He begged for his life. I told him I didn't want him, I wanted information. He spilled everything. Darius was making a move on a rival crew using the same docks where we used to run our first deals. The deal was in 3 days. I let Felix live, but only because I wanted him to tell Darius one thing: Marcus is coming. For the next 3 nights, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing Trey's last words, seeing Leon's blood, seeing my brother's calm smile that night at the docks. By dawn of the 3rd day, I was ready. I loaded my gun, put on my old jacket, and walked into the city that made us both. Eastbridge was quiet, like it knew what was coming. I wasn't the same kid anymore. I wasn't even the same man. I was the ghost my brother created, and that ghost was coming home. I didn't tell anyone where I was going that night. I left my phone on the motel bed, still buzzing from messages I didn't read. The only thing I took with me was my gun, a picture of Mama, and the rage that had been burning for years. The docks looked just like they did the night Darius betrayed me. The same smell of oil and salt, the same fog crawling over the water. Only this time I wasn't running, I was hunting. It was just after midnight when I saw the trucks pulling in, 3 black ones, engines growling like beasts. Men with masks stepped out first, carrying rifles. Then came Darius. He looked clean, polished, expensive. The kind of man people feared but secretly wanted to be. Even from a distance I could see the gold chain around his neck, the one Mama gave me before she died. He must have taken it from my things after I got locked up. That chain made my blood boil. I waited in the shadows, counting his guards, 6 of them, 2 by the trucks, 2 by the dock gate, and 2 walking close to Darius. I had 1 gun, 8 bullets, and hate to keep me steady. The plan was simple: wait until the deal started, take out the lights, and move in. The rival crew he was meeting would panic, and in the confusion I'd grab Darius. Not kill him yet. I wanted him to see my face first, to know who came for him. But things never go the way you plan in Eastbridge. I crept closer, sliding between crates. My heart was beating hard, but my hands were steady. I could hear them talking now. "Shipment's late," one man said. Darius laughed, calm as ever. "They'll come. Everyone always comes when there's money." I could almost hear the smile in his voice. I wanted to wipe it off his face forever. Then suddenly one of his guards turned my way. He frowned, squinting into the dark. I froze. He took a step closer. Another. The sound of his boots echoed in the empty dockyard. I held my breath. Then the lights exploded. Gunfire erupted from the far side of the dock. I dropped down behind a crate as bullets zipped through the air. Someone else had started shooting, someone who wasn't me. The rival crew had set their own trap. Screams filled the night. Men ran, shouting orders, firing blindly. I peeked around the crate and saw chaos. Darius's men were dropping one by one, but in the middle of it all he stood calm, barking orders, gun in hand. He was always good under pressure. That's what made him dangerous. I moved closer, crawling through shadows until I was just a few steps behind him. I raised my gun. "Darius," I shouted. He turned fast, eyes wide for the first time in years. When he saw me, he froze. The noise of the gunfight seemed to fade. For a moment, it was just us, 2 brothers who had once shared everything. "Marcus," he said, voice low, "you're alive." "Thanks to you," I said. 2 years inside, 2 brothers in the ground, you did all that." He didn't flinch. It was business. Business. I stepped closer. "Leon was family, Trey was family, you sold us out." He looked almost bored. "They were weak, you were weak, I had to survive." I wanted to shoot him right there, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the part of me that still remembered the little boy who used to follow me everywhere, who cried when our mother got sick. I wanted to understand why. "Why did you do it, Darius?" I asked. "You had everything." He smirked. "Not everything. You were always the one people trusted, the one they listened to. I was tired of being your shadow, so I stepped into the light." He raised his gun slowly, pointing it at my chest. "Guess it's time to finish what I started." Before he could fire, an explosion ripped through the docks. One of the trucks went up in flames, throwing both of us to the ground. The blast was so strong I could feel the heat on my face. My ears rang, the air filled with smoke and screams. When I looked up, Darius was gone. I crawled through the smoke, coughing, searching for him. All around me were bodies and burning crates. The rival crew had vanished. It was just destruction and the sound of sirens in the distance. I found blood on the ground leading toward the water. I followed it, limping, until I reached the edge of the dock. The trail ended there, nothing but black water below. I stared into it for a long time, wondering if he had jumped or been dragged down by the blast. Part of me hoped he was dead, the other part knew he was. Because Darius never dies easy. When the sirens got closer, I slipped away into the fog. I spent the rest of the night hiding in an abandoned warehouse, patching up a cut on my arm and thinking about what he said, that he wanted to step into the light. Maybe he got his wish. The fire from the trucks lit up half the city that night. The news said 10 men died at the docks. They didn't mention Darius. No body was found, no witnesses, just ash and blood. I knew then that this wasn't over, not even close. He was still out there watching, waiting, and I wasn't done hunting. The fire at the docks burned for 2 days straight. I watched it from a hill outside the city, smoke curling into the sky like a funeral flag. 10 men gone, maybe more. Everyone said it was a war between gangs, nothing new for Eastbridge. But I knew better. I knew the war had only just started and the fire hadn't taken the man I wanted. A week later I got proof. It came in the form of a letter. No names, no return address, just one line written in neat handwriting. "You should have aimed for the head, D." I stared at it for a long time. My hands shook so bad I nearly tore the paper. Darius was alive, not just alive, taunting me. It was his way of saying, "Catch me if you can." That's when I stopped being cautious. I stopped pretending to have a plan. I became a ghost with one purpose: to find my brother and end him. I started moving through Eastbridge again, talking to people who owed me favors, to old contacts who still remembered the name Marcus Vance. Some didn't want to talk, others were too scared. Everyone said the same thing: Darius had gone underground. He was working from the shadows now, making money through shell companies, keeping his hands clean while others got dirty. It took me months, but I found a thread: a man named Victor, one of Darius's new partners. He ran a club downtown called the Mirage, where all the big players met. I started going there every night, sitting in the corner, watching, waiting. The music was loud, the lights dizzying, but all I saw were ghosts: Trey, Leon, Mama dancing in the shadows. Sometimes I thought I saw Darius's face in the crowd. Sometimes I even followed it, only to find some stranger turning around. The city was playing tricks on me, or maybe my guilt was. One night Victor finally noticed me. He was a tall man with a cold smile. He slid into the booth across from me, holding a drink. "You've been coming here a lot," he said, "looking for someone." "Maybe," I said. He leaned forward. "You look like someone I used to know, someone Darius talked about." The name hit me like a punch, but I kept my face straight. "What did he say?" Victor grinned. "He said if you ever showed up I should buy you a drink. Said brothers should toast before they kill each other." Before I could move, Victor's men surrounded the table. Guns pressed into my ribs. I didn't panic. I'd been waiting for this. "I guess he wants me alive," I said. Victor nodded. "For now." They took me out the back door and threw me into a van. My hands were tied, my head covered, but I knew where we were going. I could feel it, the road twisting toward the river, the same smell of salt and metal. When the bag came off, I was in an empty warehouse lit by a single bulb, and there he was. Darius. He looked different now, older, meaner. There was a scar across his jaw, probably from the docks, but his eyes were the same, cold, sharp, always watching. "Hello, brother," he said, stepping forward. "You just don't know when to quit." I didn't answer. I just stared at him, trying to remember the boy who used to share my bed when thunder scared him. That boy was gone. "You killed Trey," I said. He tilted his head, he killed himself, thought he could steal from me. And Leon, he made the wrong choice. You made every wrong choice, I snapped. He laughed quietly. No, Marcus, I made the right ones. You still think loyalty means something in this world. It doesn't. It never did. You taught me that the night you said yes to Rico. That cut deep because he wasn't wrong. I had brought us into this life. I just never thought it would end like this. I'm not leaving here without you, I said. Darius smiled. Good, because you're not leaving at all. He raised his gun, but before he could shoot, I kicked the table toward him and dove to the side. The shot cracked through the air, missing me by inches. Chaos erupted. Victor's men rushed in, shouting. I grabbed the gun from one of them and fired back. The sound echoed like thunder. One man dropped, then another. Darius ran. I chased him through the warehouse, boots slamming against the floor. He darted between crates, bullets whizzing past him. I finally cornered him near the back door, gun aimed at his head. End of the line, I said. He turned slowly, breathing hard. You think killing me fixes anything? It fixes everything. He laughed again. You'll never be free of me, Marcus. We're the same. And then he threw something, small, silver, rolling across the floor. A grenade. The world exploded. I woke up hours later, or maybe minutes. The warehouse was half collapsed, smoke and dust everywhere. My ears rang, my body ached, but I was alive. I crawled through the rubble searching, but Darius was gone again. Only blood trails and empty shell casings remained. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. I stumbled into the cold night air, every step burning. I fell to my knees and screamed until my voice broke, not out of pain but rage. How many times could one man lose his brother? That night I realized something awful. I wasn't just hunting Darius anymore. I was becoming him. The lies, the blood, the emptiness, it was all inside me now, eating me alive. I started drinking more, sleeping less. I'd see my reflection in broken mirrors and not recognize the face staring back. But it didn't matter. If I had to become a monster to destroy him, then so be it. Because this time I wouldn't miss. By the time winter hit Eastbridge, the whole city knew one thing: someone was coming for Darius Vance. They whispered about me in bars, in alleys, in the corners of places where no one ever said names out loud. They called me the ghost with the gun. I didn't care what they called me, I just wanted him. After the warehouse explosion, I spent weeks tracking down the pieces of his empire. Darius had gone underground again, but his money and men were still out there, so I started cutting him off, one by one. I went after his safe houses first, torched them until there was nothing but smoke and melted glass. Then I found his lieutenants, men who had laughed at me, who had helped bury Leon and Trey. I didn't give speeches. I didn't make threats, I just made them disappear. Every time I took someone down, I left a mark, a red X painted on the wall. I wanted him to know it was me. I wanted him to feel what it was like to watch everything you built crumble. Word spread fast. Some said I was dead already. Others said I was a demon. Even the cops stopped asking questions. Eastbridge was too tired to care about another ghost story. But Darius cared. I knew because one night I found a message waiting for me in my motel room, carved into the mirror with a knife. You kill what's mine, I kill what's left of you. That same night I got a call. A voice I didn't recognize whispered, "He's got someone close to you." Then the line went dead. I ran to the one place I still trusted, Mama's old apartment, the one we grew up in. The door was already open. Inside, everything was trashed. The picture of Mama that used to hang on the wall was shattered, and on the kitchen table was another note. She raised 2 sons, only one will live to see dawn. I knew what it meant. He wanted me to come to him. The address at the bottom was a warehouse by the river, the same docks where it all began. I got there just after midnight. The place was quiet, too quiet. I moved slowly, gun in hand, my breath fogging in the cold air. The inside was empty except for one chair sitting under a hanging light. On it was a man tied up, head slumped forward. When I got closer, I saw his face. It was Felix, Darius's old right-hand man. He was dead. On his chest was a photo, me and Darius as kids, smiling with Mama between us. Her handwriting was on the back, "My boys stay together." I stood there for a long time, shaking. That photo had been missing since she died. Darius must have taken it. Then I heard a voice behind me. "You still carrying ghosts, brother?" I turned fast, gun up. Darius stepped out from the shadows, hands empty, eyes calm. The scar on his face was deeper now, like a river cutting through stone. "End of the road," I said. He smiled. "No, Marcus, this is where it began." We circled each other like wolves. The light swung above us, shadows crawling across the walls. "You burned everything I built," he said. "You think that makes you better than me." "I don't want to be better," I said. "I just want you gone." He laughed softly. "You can't kill me without killing yourself. We're the same blood, same sin." "Then maybe it's time that blood stopped flowing." I fired first. He dove behind a crate. Bullets tore through wood, sparks flying. He returned fire, each shot whistling past me. The room echoed with thunder. I kept moving, closing the distance. He caught me off guard, tackled me into a pile of boxes. The gun flew from my hand. We wrestled, fists in fury, years of hate exploding in every punch. He slammed my head into the floor, snarling. "You never understood," he yelled. "I did everything for us." "For us," I spat blood. "You did it for you." He pulled a knife from his belt and swung. I grabbed his wrist, twisting hard. The blade clattered across the floor. I kicked him off, gasping for air. My hand found the knife first. We both froze, me standing, him on his knees. "Do it," he said quietly. "Be the hero, Marcus." I stepped closer, knife trembling in my hand. The smell of oil and blood filled the air. My heart pounded so loud I couldn't hear anything else. Then I saw Mama again in my head, her smile, her tired eyes, her voice saying, "Take care of your brother." And I hesitated. That's when Darius lunged. The blade went in, but not into him, into me. I gasped, eyes wide. He had turned the knife, driving it into my side. Pain flooded through me like fire. He whispered in my ear, "Told you, big brother, I always finish what you start." I fell to my knees, the world blurred. I could taste blood in my mouth. He stood over me, wiping his hands. "You should have stayed buried." He turned to walk away. But I wasn't done. With the last of my strength, I pulled the gun from my boot and fired. The shot hit him in the back. He stumbled, turned, shock on his face. I fired again and again. Darius dropped to the floor, gasping. I crawled toward him, blood leaking from both of us, the room spinning. We lay there side by side, two brothers dying on the same cold floor. He turned his head, voice barely a whisper. "You got me, Marcus, you finally won." I looked at him, tears mixing with blood. "No," I said, "we both lost." The lights flickered, then went out. I don't know how long I lay there, but when I woke again, it was morning. The sun was bleeding through the cracks in the roof. Darius was gone, no body, just blood and empty shells. Somehow he'd survived again. And I was left alone, broken, half-dead, clutching the same knife that should have ended everything. That's when I realized this wouldn't end until one of us was in the ground for good. It took months before I could walk without pain. I stayed in a small room above a boxing gym run by a man who owed me a favor. He never asked questions. Every night I cleaned the same gun, the same knife, waiting for news of Darius. But the city was silent. No one had seen him, no one had heard his name. Some said he bled out in the river, some said he ran to another country, but I knew better. My brother was too stubborn to die quietly. Every night I dreamed of the warehouse, the fire, the blood, the sound of our guns. I woke up sweating, thinking I still heard his voice. "We're the same, Marcus." Maybe we were. But only one of us could still make things right. Then one morning, a kid from the gym came running up the stairs. "Marcus," he said, out of breath, "you gotta see this." He handed me a folded newspaper. On the front page was a photo of Darius, older but unmistakable. He was standing next to a black car outside a luxury hotel on the edge of town. The headline read, "Businessman Darius Vancopens New Development Project." I laughed until my throat hurt. My brother had gone clean, or at least pretended to, using fake names, fake money, trying to bury the blood under concrete and glass. But ghosts don't stay buried. That night I put on my old jacket, the one still stained from the docks, and slipped my gun into the waistband. This time there be no speeches, no hesitation, no mercy. The hotel was bright and quiet, all polished marble and expensive perfume. I walked through the lobby like I belonged there. Nobody looked twice. I took the elevator to the top floor, following the sound of laughter. At the end of the hall, 2 guards stood outside a suite door, big guys in suits. I knew the type. Darius always surrounded himself with mirrors of who he wished he was. I waited until one stepped away to take a call. When he turned his back, I moved fast. 2 hits clean, silent. He dropped. The second tried to draw, but my bullet found his chest before his hand touched the trigger. The hallway smelled of gunpowder and fear. I pushed the door open. Inside, Darius sat at a table by the window, drink in hand, city lights glittering behind him. He didn't look surprised. "Took you long enough," he said. I closed the door behind me. "You've been waiting for me." He nodded. "Always." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the rain tapping on the glass. I saw the reflection of us both, 2 tired men wearing the same eyes. "I thought you were dead," I said. "I was," he answered. "Then I decided not to be." "You could have stayed gone." He smiled, small and sad. "And let you think you won." "No, brother, we finished this our way." He stood slow and steady, pulling a gun from under the table. I raised mine too. We stared across the room, 10 feet apart, 2 sides of the same coin. "Do you ever think about Mama?" I asked. His eyes flickered. "Every day. She wanted us to stay together." He nodded, and here we are. We fired at the same time. The sound was deafening. My shoulder burned. His gun clattered to the floor. I stepped forward, pressing my hand to my wound, and saw the blood spreading across his shirt. Darius fell to one knee, breathing hard. "Guess you finally did it," he said. I knelt beside him, holding him as he coughed. He looked at me, eyes glassy, and for the first time in years he looked like my little brother again. "I didn't want it to be like this," I said. He tried to smile. "You were always the better one." I shook my head. "No, Darius, there are no better ones left." His head tilted back, the life went out of his eyes, the room went quiet except for the rain. I sat there for a long time, holding him, feeling the warmth fade from his skin. Then I looked out at the city, our city, and wondered if it would even notice we were gone. Maybe that's how it should be. I took the chain from around his neck, the one Mama gave me, and slipped it into my pocket. Then I stood, left the gun beside him, and walked out into the hall. Downstairs, sirens were already growing closer. I didn't run, I just kept walking until the rain washed the blood from my hands. When I reached the street, dawn was breaking. The clouds were pink and gold over Eastbridge, and for the first time in years the city looked almost beautiful. I felt light, almost empty. Maybe that's what peace feels like at the end, quiet, cold, and earned. I whispered into the morning air, "It's done, Mama." Then I kept walking, the chain heavy in my pocket, the world behind me burning brighter with every step.
They found 2 guns in that hotel room and 1 body. The papers said it was a gang dispute, another faceless tragedy. No one mentioned the brothers or the ghosts or the blood debt finally paid. But in Eastbridge, people still whisper about a night when the city went silent, and the dawn that came after felt cleaner somehow. Some say Marcus Vance died too that day. Maybe they're right. Because the man who walked out of that hotel wasn't looking for revenge anymore. He was looking for peace. And for the first time, he finally found it.